I am Alaric, and you are listening to The Secret Law Files, the archive where we study the recurrent architecture of terror. We often look for horror in the places where the flesh is torn, or where the stone is cursed, or where the laws of physics are irrevocably broken. But the most elegant and enduring horrors, my seekers, are those that dismantle the interior landscape, the structures of the mind. Tonight we delve into a clinical, cold dissection of a soul in the process of unraveling. The document before us is a rare, leaked file, a transcript from an archive that calls itself the Foundation, a modern attempt to catalogue the ancient, ceaseless influx of the anomalous. They use sterile language and elaborate protocols, but underneath their bureaucratic veneer, they are merely attempting to police the same chaos that has afflicted humanity since the dawn of civilization. They try to classify the unclassifiable, yet they fail to see the pattern that guarantees their failure: human curiosity and hubris. Our subject is a seemingly mundane item, a cigarette, but one capable of rewriting the consumer's self-perception, forcing them to adopt a new, fixed identity: the Blue Lady. It is a memetic infection that does not change the physical host, but surgically removes the personality. This is not a tale of a monstrous possession. It is a parable of the manufactured self. Let us observe, with detached fascination, how fragile the human concept of me truly is.
I am Chief Inspector Martel of the Internal Security Department, Personnel ID F99947337, operating under a Level 4 security clearance, Personnel Class C. This comprehensive investigation report synthesizes all known data pertaining to SCP-013 and is now being transcribed for archival review and accountability assessment. The subject of this file, designated SCP-013, is classified as safe, consisting of 242 anomalous cigarettes that induce a permanent, self-perceptual memetic alteration, causing the user to see themselves as a specific, non-anomalous human female. Initial discovery was linked to an apparent suicide in a civilian location, but the object is currently contained across Biosite 66 and Research Sector 09. This dossier provides a comprehensive narrative summary to evaluate the risks posed by exposure and to critique the current containment and testing protocols. Synthesis of discovery and description. SCP-013 is the collective designation for 242 individual cigarettes, each marked with the words "Blue Lady" handwritten in blue ink. The anomalous effect manifests upon consumption via inhalation. The resulting alteration is chronic and strictly psychological. The physical body of the subject is unaffected. Subjects exposed to SCP-013 begin to perceive themselves as a specific, unidentified woman. Recurring details regarding this perceived identity include an age between 25 and 35 years old, a height of approximately 1.6 meters, and an estimated weight of between 50 and 55 kilograms. Additional characteristics uniformly reported are cropped dark hair, blue eyes, and the presence of bright blue lipstick. This shift in self-perception occurs gradually over the course of weeks, but is irreversible once established.
The elegant simplicity of the psychogenic horror. The modern mortal obsesses over the physical body, yet the true vulnerability is the self-image. To force a human to see themselves as another, what a delightful tyranny. It reminds me of the Orphic traditions, where initiates traded their old mortal name for a new, fixed identity. Humanity has always craved replacement, trading the burden of their unique soul for the comfort of a pre-written character.
The anomaly was recovered following the discovery of Irvine Rivers, a civilian who died by massive overdose in his apartment. The instances of SCP-013 were found packaged in a large cardboard crate. Hundreds of sketches of a figure matching the perceived woman's description were recovered from the location. Rivers' body was found seated at a desk, slumped over a handwritten note. The note, recovered and logged as an addendum to the main file, indicated a profound psychological fixation, referencing the sad blue lady and expressing conflicting emotions of love and an inability to recall why. The fragmented text shows a clear struggle with memory and identity, containing phrases such as, "I feel like I should know her, but I can't remember," and her favorite flavor, along with the distress signal, "Where did you go? I miss you." This reads like a clear precursor to the psychological dissolution later observed in testing.
Look at the language. I feel like I should know her. The mortal mind abhors a vacuum. When true memory fails, the brain fabricates a history to justify its current delusion. This desperate search for a memory that never existed, this is the very definition of human romantic tragedy. They build entire civilizations on foundations of beautiful lies. And of course, the Foundation's failure. Hubris ensures that even the most rigorous protocol is merely a suggestion to the curious.
During the initial investigation and recovery, a civilian investigator was exposed to the anomaly and subsequently affected. An embedded Foundation agent secured the subject, the artifact, and the related evidence. The initial failure to secure the scene resulted in one civilian investigator becoming affected by the anomaly before an embedded agent could extract the subject, the evidence, and the affected person. This demonstrates a lapse in initial threat assessment procedures. Currently, 217 instances of SCP-013 are contained in a secure storage vault at Biosite-66, while 25 are sequestered at Research Sector 09 for future research into similar anomalous effects. The current containment procedures mandate monitoring exposed subjects for differences in symptoms, daily interviews, and detailed logging of any changes in perception. Synthesis of personnel testing and incident log. A research team at Biosite-66 expressed concerns regarding the breadth of their testing, leading them to assign a Level 2 researcher to self-test the anomaly. This researcher, capable of detailed self-evaluation, was provided with a supply of SCP-013 and instructed to report on the progression of effects. The use of Level 2 personnel for self-experimentation with a new, untested Memetic agent simply because they were a smoker constitutes a flagrant disregard of Protocol 7 Delta regarding unnecessary personnel risk.
Flagrant disregard of protocol. Ooh, indeed. The modern mortal scientist suffers from the same affliction as the ancient alchemist. The belief that rules apply only to lesser minds, and that personal proximity to the forbidden grants immunity. I have seen civilizations fall because their most intelligent citizens believed they could handle the truth better than anyone else. A timeless pattern, my seekers. Arrogance is the ultimate self-administered toxin.
The researcher began the testing process promptly. The first inhalation yielded no immediate effects, but after consuming one full cigarette, the perceptual change began. The subject observed the reflection of the blue lady described as intensely blue in details such as her hair, eyes, lipstick, nails, and dress in a dark phone screen, and subsequently a mirror. The subject noted the woman's appearance suggested the roaring 1920s era and found the perceived image intensely familiar.
The 1920s, a delightful era of manufactured rebellion and purchased angst. The anomaly is wise. It chooses an aesthetic that suggests freedom and danger, a perfect costume for a constrained researcher. Note the pattern, seekers. The self-identity is not innate. It is a meticulously curated collection of external tastes, borrowed from crushes and heroes. The researcher is only now realizing that the core of their being is merely an archive of other people's desires.
The sense of familiarity was traced to a high school crush who had originally influenced the researcher to begin smoking years prior. This connection initiated a severe introspective crisis in the subject, leading to questions concerning personal agency and the external origins of their habits, summarized by the researcher's later thought process. What part of me is me? The subject attempted to halt the test and went to bed, a decision that proved detrimental due to the anomaly's interaction with sleep cycles. The effects escalated significantly overnight. The researcher awoke from a severe nightmare, screaming, their breath hitching in their throat. Upon inspection with a flashlight, the subject found ash and stains consistent with blue lipstick on their pillow and bedding. In a state of extreme disorientation, they reached up and accidentally scratched their own face with their perceived long fingernails.
Ah, sleep. The time when the carefully constructed daylight facade crumbles. The ash and the lipstick proof that the terror of the mind can indeed leave physical traces upon the material world. When the consciousness is suppressed, the subconscious, the true self, is allowed to perform its terrifying theater. It is a primal fear, the blurring of the boundary between the dream and the awakening, a phenomenon known to the earliest shamans of my mother's people, who knew that the spirit realm was only ever a breath away.
When the researcher attempted to light a subsequent cigarette, they observed their reflection in the lighter's polished surface. This reflection was not solely the Blue Lady, but reportedly a composite image of everyone who had influenced the researcher's self-identity. In a reactive state, the researcher intentionally worsened the self-inflicted injury, attempting to erase the reflection and look like no one.
Looked like no one, the ultimate expression of terror, the discovery that the self is nothing more than a mosaic of borrowed pieces, and the desperate, futile attempt to shatter the mirror. He sought annihilation to escape responsibility for his own borrowed identity. But the mind is a stubborn thing. Even when damaged, the pattern remains pristine beneath the superficial chaos.
The action was unsuccessful in altering the memetic effect. The perceived image of the Blue Lady remained pristine, with only the subject's physical skin showing damage. The subject remains contained, exhibiting permanent altered self-perception and an ongoing psychological struggle regarding the origins of their personality traits. As a result of the exposure, the researcher developed an intense physical aversion to smoking, finding the mere thought of consuming tobacco nauseating. Addenda and secondary analysis. The following documents provide secondary analysis and context for the anomalies, psychological impact, and are included as necessary addenda. Analysis of the file titled Smoking on Company Time Researcher Self-Report Relevance Claim. This document is critical, as it provides the only longitudinal data on the psychological impact of SCP-013 exposure on a Foundation employee with established cognitive function. Evidentiary summary. The report confirms the mental-only nature of the transformation and documents the rapid escalation of the perceptual effect over a single weekend. Crucially, it identifies the secondary memetic layer. The Blue Lady acts as a catalyst for a crisis of agency, forcing the subject to confront the external origins of their personal habits. The physical consequences, such as self-mutilation and the finding of ash and lipstick residue post-nightmare, indicate potential short-range interaction with the physical environment or an extreme psychosomatic response. Investigators note: the researcher's emotional vulnerability and high level of internal conflict suggest this report is heavily colored by personal bias and existential distress. However, the physical evidence of the self-inflicted injuries and the residual ash strongly corroborate the severity of the psychological impact. The data confirms the anomaly is not merely a perceptual filter, but a profound recontextualization of self-identity.
Precisely. The true horror is never the monster in the dark, but the realization that the self you have cherished, the personality you have cultivated, is merely a collection of external influences. This is the eternal tragedy of the species. They build their beautiful, complicated lives upon the shifting sand of imitation. And when the foundation is tested, they panic. A profound recontextualization of self-identity, indeed. The cigarette merely provided the match. The fuel was always inside them.
The operational risk of SCP-013 is low, but the documented psychological damage to non-D-class personnel proves its classification as safe is only relevant to physical containment, not cognitive security.
A profound recontextualization of self-identity. What a magnificent phrase for the most exquisite form of human suffering. We see here, in this clinical dossier, a perfect microcosm of human existence. They seek comfort and habit, they find a catalyst for self-destruction, and then they destroy the vessel in a desperate attempt to erase the memory of the theft. The Blue Lady cigarettes are not inherently evil. They are merely a lens that forces the consumer to see the truth of their own constructed nature. They are the mirror that, once polished, reflects not the intended image, but the dozens of fragments, the borrowed aesthetics, and the forgotten influences that truly constitute the human personality. The Foundation concludes the physical risk is low, but the cognitive damage is severe. This is the ultimate, delicious irony, mortals. You fear the breaking of bone, but your true vulnerability is the breaking of belief. The researcher may have developed an aversion to tobacco, but the far greater wound is the realization that their life, their tastes, their very self was dictated by the lingering influence of a high school crush. The patterns hold. The patterns hold. Ambition leads to hubris. Curiosity leads to exposure. And the search for identity inevitably leads to the discovery that identity is merely the grandest, most beautiful lie. Thank you for seeking the truth tonight. Until next time, remember that the most dangerous archives are always the ones contained entirely within the mind. Good evening.